Good evening. A former CIA employee responsible for one of the biggest intelligence leaks in U.S. history is hiding from American authorities at a hotel in Hong Kong. Edward Snowden says he feels safer in Hong Kong after he blew the whistle on the U.S. government for spying on millions of people. ATV's Belinda Lloyd reports.
He's at the center of a scandal that has deeply embarrassed the U.S. government, and he's right here in Hong Kong. Former CIA technical assistant Edward Snowden, who until recently was working as a computer technician for a U.S. defense contractor, has revealed that he's holed up in a hotel in Hong Kong. That's after he leaked secret documents to the British newspaper The Guardian, exposing the U.S. government for spying on millions of people by listening to their phone calls and monitoring their internet data. The documents revealed the U.S. National Security Agency's PRISM, a previously unknown program to access data held by the world's major telecommunications and internet companies. The 29-year-old whistleblower told the newspaper that while preparing his leaks, he copied the secret documents at the NSA office in Hawaii and left for Hong Kong on the 20th of May so that he would be in a place that might be able to resist U.S. prosecution attempts. And why is he here in Hong Kong of all places?
Hong Kong has a strong tradition of free speech. People think, oh, China, great firewall. Mainland China does have significant restrictions on free speech, but the people of Hong Kong have a long tradition of protesting in the streets, of making their views known.
Snowden said he felt compelled to go public with his story and leak the classified documents because he could not allow the U.S. government to destroy privacy, internet freedom, and basic liberties.
I think that the public is owed an explanation of the motivations behind the people who make these disclosures that are outside of the democratic model. When you are subverting the power of government, that's a fundamentally dangerous thing to democracy. And I'm willing to go on the record to defend the authenticity of them and say, I didn't change these. I didn't modify the story. This is the truth. This is what's happening. You should decide whether we need to be doing this.
As U.S. authorities launch a formal investigation into the leak, he fears being rendered, summarily detained without due process, and taken into secret detention by the CIA or its partners. He's also worried about being taken in for questioning by local authorities here.
Yeah, I could be, rendered by the CIA. I could have people come after me, or any of their third-party partners. They work closely with a number of other nations, or they could pay off the triads, or any of their agents or assets. We've got a CIA station just up the road in the consulate here in Hong Kong, and I'm sure they're going to be very busy for the next week. And that's a fear I'll live under for the rest of my life, however long that happens to be.
Snowden had thought about blowing the whistle back in 2008 when Barack Obama was running for U.S. president, but decided not to because he believed in Obama's promises of change at the time. The leaks came just before the U.S.-China summit at the weekend between Obama and President Xi Jinping. Obama denounced the leaks and defended the surveillance program as a modest encroachment on privacy, which is necessary to protect the U.S. from terrorist attacks. But Snowden is already a hero to Americans who believe in freedom of information and the need to keep an increasingly intrusive government in check.
The Hong Kong government is not saying anything, but it's likely to deport Snowden under an extradition treaty with the U.S. But some legal experts say he has a fighting chance to avoid being sent home to face prosecution.
Has Edward Snowden made the right decision by choosing Hong Kong as a base to seek refuge in another country? The problem is the SAR has an extradition treaty with the US, which was signed in 1996 and came into effect 2 years later. Under that treaty, both parties agreed to hand over fugitives from each other's criminal justice systems, but either side has the right of refusal in the case of political offences. Former Security Secretary and New People's Party chairwoman Regina Ip doesn't think the whistleblower has a chance.
I think it would be wisest for him to leave Hong Kong because we do have bilateral agreements with the U.S. and we are duty bound to comply with these agreements. Hong Kong is not a legal vacuum, as Mr. Snowden might have thought.
LegCo Security Panel Deputy Chairman James To suggests one way to get around the extradition treaty is for Snowden to seek asylum.
He may go to the High Commissioner for Refugees, which is a UN body, and if the High Commissioner is considering his application, of course, according to the norm, Hong Kong government will not cancel the condition of stay for a visa-free U.S. passport, normally for 6 months. The Hong Kong government will not, even after the expiry of the 6 months, will not deport this guy if the High Commissioner still is considering his asylum-seeking application.
Civic Party lawmaker Ronnie Tong, who's also a barrister, stressed that the extradition is only one of the 3 conditions that have to be met before deporting Snowden.
The question is whether the crime or the conduct involved constitute a criminal conduct in Hong Kong. If it does not, then it is a ground for refusing extradition. The third is that the extradition order, whether such an order would offend human rights or public interest, or is it a political offense? Very often, if the offense involved is purely a political offense, then I think the local courts may well consider it is not a proper matter to issue an extradition order.
Another big but is that Beijing has the right to veto an extradition request if it affects the mainland's defense, foreign affairs or essential public interest or policy. Some experts feel Beijing will not interfere and Snowden has a good chance to avoid being sent back.
Coming to Hong Kong is probably a good decision because not only do we have protections under our extradition law through the court system and the political offense exception, but we also have strong protections for people making asylum claims. And he's come really at probably the best moment in time because our asylum laws are in a state of limbo. It's a bit of a black hole after a decision from our Court of Final Appeal in March, which basically held that the government has to independently determine someone's refugee claim.
The Hong Kong government is refusing to comment on the case, and so is the U.S. consulate. Chief Executive Leung Chun-ying is in the U.S. on a business trip and was supposed to meet New York Mayor Michael Bloomberg today, but it's been cancelled at the last minute. That's prompting speculation that it may be related to Snowden's case. The whistleblower himself is hoping that he'll be given asylum by Iceland, but he has to be in that country first before making a request.
To other news, a civil servants union is threatening to take the government to court over a pay rise offer that has been criticized as too stingy. The union is accusing the government of deviating from its own mechanism for pay adjustments. Several civil service unions have been complaining about the recent pay increase offered by the government, which is below the rate of inflation. Today, the Chinese Civil Servants Association added its concerns, accusing the administration of deviating from its own mechanism when considering pay rises for government staff. Last week, the government offered civil servants in the upper band and directorate grades a 2.55% pay increase, while those in the lower to middle salary bands were set for a 3.92% rise. But several unions criticized the increase as too little, noting that inflation is now at more than 4%. The Chinese Civil Servants Association today accused the government of not sticking to the existing mechanism to consider factors such as inflation and staff morale. The association slammed Civil Service Secretary Paul Tang for stating that the main factor in pay rises for the government workforce is a survey of salary trends in the private sector.
Yeah, we are now not targeting at a percentage, at an exact number of percentage. We are very concerned about the mechanism, the credibility of the mechanism, and we don't want the mechanism being damaged by the administration without any consultation with the staff side.
The association has threatened to seek a judicial review if the government fails to address its demand to follow a mechanism which uses a basket of factors, not only the pay trend of private businesses. But the association said it will remain a member of the Pay Trend Survey Committee, the advisory body that helps the government determine the pay adjustments. 3 of the 4 Hong Kong police unions walked out of the committee last week to protest against the pay rise, and today they were followed by the Disciplined Services Consultative Council.
Over these few days, we found that the government did not respond to our requests. For example, in the mechanism, we have 6 factors to consider the pay mechanism, but we found that the government only considered the for the index.
The disciplined services want their pay increases to be handled separately from those of the civil service because of the different nature of their jobs. Police have arrested 3 people accused of cruelty to animals after raiding a flat full of puppies in Shomshopo. Officers rescued 30 puppies from the flat and found 7 others dead in a refrigerator. They suspect the culprits were breeding dogs to be sold to pet shops. Opponents of the Occupy Central movement are stepping up their campaign to stop any blockade of the city's business hub. ATV's Emily Sue reports.
Opposition to the Occupy Central movement is growing as the pro-democracy group prepares to blockade streets in the city's financial district next year to push for genuine universal suffrage. Today, major property developer Henry Chang and the powerful rural body, the Heungyi Kok, waded into the debate. The Kok took out full-page notices in Chinese-language newspapers to condemn the movement, claiming that Occupy Central will seriously disrupt social order and deal a huge blow to the economy. The Kok urged the group to abandon its campaign and put the overall interest of the people first. Last month, the pro-Beijing Chinese General Chamber of Commerce and the Chinese Manufacturers Association also published warnings in local newspapers that Occupy Central's activities would hurt Hong Kong's economy. The group was also condemned today by Henry Chang, chairman of New World Development and a supporter of Chief Executive Leung Chun-ying. How can something that disrupts public order and damages the economy not be unlawful? Chang asked. Before leaving for New York yesterday, Leung issued his strongest warning yet against the movement, saying it's impossible for its program of civil disobedience to be lawful or peaceful. Occupy Central hit back today. Hong Kong University law professor Benny Tai, who started the campaign, said Leung's remarks would only fuel the public's determination to push for genuine universal suffrage in the 2017 chief executive election. Speaking after a radio program, another core organizer said Occupy Central welcomes opinions from everyone. Sociology professor Chan Kin-man said he's already accepted an invitation to meet one group of critics, probably at the end of the month, on the condition that the talks are peaceful and conducted in a rational manner. Tai said Occupy Central is expected to draft preliminary guidelines in August or September on how to stage a peaceful blockade of the city's business heart. Another core member, Chu Yuming, added all participants in the campaign will be required to sign an agreement vowing not to resort to violence and to demonstrate peacefully. A clearer strategy can be mapped out in coming months, he said. Chu has suggested forming a committee that will have the power to decide when activists should start the protest and when they should retreat. He said participants will not resist arrest and will remain peaceful, but warned that the government could resort to violence to break the protest. At Occupy Central's first deliberation day yesterday to discuss priorities, concerns were raised that the PLA might be deployed to put down any protest that paralyzes the financial hub. But the organizers played down those fears, insisting that the movement is a peaceful one. Emily Sue, ATV News.
Just look at what we have done.
China is ready to launch the 10June2013 spacecraft tomorrow evening with 3 astronauts on board. It will be the nation's longest manned flight so far, featuring school lessons from outer space from China's second female astronaut. ATV's Arthur Erkiola reports.
Officials from China's space program today announced that the 10June2013 spacecraft will be launched from the Gobi Desert at 5:38 p.m. tomorrow. The 15-day mission, the longest Chinese manned spaceflight so far, will see 2 docking tests with the Tiangong-1 space module, one manual and the other automatic. Program spokeswoman Wu Ping said the aim of the test will be to verify and strengthen docking technology. She said the Tiangong-1, which was launched in September 2011, has already entered docking orbit and is ready for the test. Once docked, other space science experiments will also be carried out. As it's a longer mission, the conditions will be more comfortable for the astronauts, or taikonauts as they are known on the mainland, and there will be a wider variety of food. The 3 astronauts, including China's second spacewoman, met the media this evening. It will be the second time in space for Chief Commander Ni Haisheng, who took part in the Shenzhou 6 mission back in 2005 as an engineer. It's been a long wait for Zhao Xiaoyang, who was selected for the space program 15 years ago. He will assist Ni and also be the mission's cameraman. Wang Yaping, a former Air Force pilot, has only been with the program for 3 years. She will be the second female Chinese astronaut in space and the mainland's first space teacher. During the mission, she will teach middle and elementary students from the Tiangong-1 through a live feed. But this will depend on conditions being ideal. This latest mission follows the first successful manned docking with the Tiangong-1 last June, which marked a significant step towards China's goals to set up a space station by 2020. Arthur Rakiola, ATV News.
News from overseas, starting with the court in Thailand suspending the trial of a 93-year-old Australian accused of raping young girls. He is expected to be released on bail for medical treatment.
Carl Joseph Krause was so weak that fellow inmates had to help carry him to court in the northern Thai city of Chiang Mai today. The 93-year-old German-born Australian was accused of raping 4 sisters aged between 7 and 15 3 years ago. He was alleged to have lured them by offering chocolates and promising to teach them English. Krause, who claimed he was suffering from cancer and dementia, managed to escape to Myanmar after the alleged offense, but was detained for not having a valid visa and deported to Thailand. North and South Korea have taken steps to ease the military tensions on both sides of their common border. After 17 hours of negotiations at the frontier village of Panmunjom, the two sides decided to hold ministerial-level talks, the first since 2007. These will be held in Seoul on Wednesday and Thursday. No agenda has been fixed, but the rival neighbors are expected to focus on normalizing commercial ties. A major security scare in the Afghan capital Kabul has ended with the deaths of 7 Taliban insurgents. The militants, with suicide bombers among them, seized a building near the airport, an area which includes foreign military bases. After a gun battle raging several hours, all 7 militants were killed. But the surprise attack raised concerns that the Taliban remains a threat as foreign forces prepare to withdraw from Afghanistan. Unrest in Turkey has continued, with both opponents and supporters of Prime Minister Tayyip Erdogan refusing to back down. In the capital Ankara, police clashed with protesters demanding Erdogan's resignation. A short distance away, thousands of supporters cheered the Prime Minister, who vowed not to step aside and warned that his patience is running out as anti-government protests continue for more than a week.
Finance news, Hong Kong shares rebounded from a 7-week low today. The Hang Seng Index gained 39 points to close at 21,615. The benchmark index took its cue from an overnight rally on Wall Street following an upbeat set of jobs data from the US. In a vote of confidence, rating agency Standard & Poor's has raised its credit outlook for the U.S. economy from negative to stable. Let's see how the markets are reacting. The Dow Jones is up 22 points. In Europe, the London FTSE is down 11 points. The Frankfurt DAX is up 53 points. The Paris CAC is down 8 points. US dollar cross rates, the euro 1.32, the pound is 1.55, it's 98.89 Japanese yen against the US dollar. The weather forecast for the next few days, mainly cloudy with a few showers that will be heavy at times, along with thunderstorms tomorrow. Temperatures will range from 25 to 29 degrees. Cloudy with rain over the rest of the week. Here's a look at the weather around the world. News for now. Thanks for watching ATV. I'm Edna. Good night.
Coming up, tracing origins around Guangdong. International affairs that concern all of us. Comprehensive research and thorough reports on the most pressing issues. Let's focus on the events that truly matter. Check in current news in focus. Tuesday night at 8.
When other animals die out, they survive. Ambush like a predator, with speed and the most powerful bite in the animal kingdom. Uncover the crocodile's incredible skin. The secret of their success is right inside their body. All about documentary, Inside Nature's Giants, Tuesday night at 10. One day they realized that they could not stop growing. Life completely changed. Massive size makes their life miserable. Not only do they find the world as uncomfortable and annoying, but they also easily feel the threat of death. Life is always full of ups and downs, but they still believe miracles do happen. Documentary World, Our Lives, Turning into Giant, Tuesday night at 9. Scientists are worried that the sun could change into an enormous red giant and swallow the Earth. But what if it happened right now? The excessive heat would make the Earth a devastating